Hello, I'm Finola Burke from RaaS Research Group, and we're catching up today with Alex Underwood, Managing Director of Empire Energy Group, ASX ticker EEG. Welcome back, Alex, and thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Finola. Good to see you.
So Empire Energy Group has reached some major milestones over the last few days. The company's announced it's commenced drilling C5H over the weekend, the first full-scale pilot development well as part of your Carpentaria Pilot Project in the Beetaloo gas region in the Northern Territory. And this is hot on the heels of the Northern Territory Government Environmental Management Plan approval for the pilot project. Can you take us through the significance of these events?
Certainly, Finola. I mean, this is big news for our company, and like a duck on the pond, we've been very busily at work over recent months, getting to this point. We raised money in May of $47 million, which allowed us to start the planning work for the drilling and stimulation of Carpentaria 5H, and ultimately moving into pilot production, hopefully next year. The environmental approvals that came through last week were certainly a significant milestone for us. We already have some existing approvals in place for the drilling and stimulation of wells, and the well that we're drilling now is under those old approvals. But we put forward another approval request to the government to drill additional wells, but also to install the Carpentaria gas plant and connect it into the local pipeline for sales to the local market. So we're delighted that those approvals are done. And I must say, this new Northern Territory government have shown themselves to be very strong supporters of onshore gas, and all the jobs and economic benefits that will accrue accordingly. So delighted with those approvals. And yeah, just this morning we've announced the commencement of drilling of Carpentaria 5H. This is the biggest well that we have drilled as a company to date. So just to remind your viewers, we've drilled 2 vertical wells and 2 shorter horizontal wells, but also in those horizontal wells, we completed those wells in 4.5-inch casing. We're now increasing the diameter of the wellbore in the horizontal section to 5.5 inches. And the relevance of that is that it means that we can apply more frac spread horsepower to the stimulation of the well and pump more water and more sand down at higher rates and higher pressures, which we believe will allow us to create a broader fraction network within the Velkerri B shale. And all other things being equal, that could see an increase in well productivity. So we're very excited about moving into the drilling phase on Carpentaria 5H. And with our regulatory approvals in place for the pilot project, it now allows us to continue that planning to install the gas plant and commence sales next year.
And prior to drilling commencing C5H, Empire Energy Group invited the traditional owners to provide a welcome to country ceremony. What does this mean, and how are you working with the Northern Land Council to ensure the traditional owners are involved in this project? I mean, how confident are you that you have their support?
Yeah, it was actually the traditional owners that invited us to the on-country ceremony, which is an important distinction, and I think speaks volumes to the relationship we have with traditional owners. Just to remind your viewers, EP 187 is the only tenement in the Northern Territory that is located on Aboriginal land. And we have been working very closely with the traditional owners of this area dating way back to 2011. So we started discussions in 2011. Over a 2.5-year period, we gained the full and informed prior consent of the traditional owners for the exploration phase, and we have an agreement in place with the Land Council acting on behalf of the traditional owners for the exploration phase, so the drilling of the wells and the stimulations and the flow tests. We do need a further final approval from the traditional owners to sell the gas. That's under the beneficial use of test gas provisions of the Northern Territory Petroleum Act that was amended late last year. And to that end, we held consultation meetings organised by the Land Council in August, and we look forward to now having a final approval meeting of the traditional owners where they give us their consent to sell the gas. While we have been carrying out that consultation with traditional owners, we have been explaining to them that we see that there are benefits that are not just confined to royalties that can accrue to local people and particularly traditional owners. We are very keen to have local people working on site for us rather than just being reliant on a FIFO workforce. That is good for local communities. It's good for employment and social development, but it also just makes good business sense that we've got people who live in the vicinity who can come and work on site with us. So we've had about half a dozen traditional owners working on site for us in the recent weeks to prepare for the upcoming drill program, and that's something that we'll continue to do over time. The invitation that the traditional owners extended to us to the Welcome to Country ceremony on Friday, I must admit was, one of the great moments of my career. I think it speaks volumes to the relationship we have with the traditional owners and the fact that, we are working hand in hand to develop this project. When I speak to traditional owners, first of all, I remind them that this is their land that we are operating on and that we are guests on their land. But also that, we consider them to genuinely be our partners in this project. We can only carry out this project effectively working in partnership with the owners of the land on which we operate. And the invitation they extend us was just awesome. I went out there on Friday and I joined in the smoking ceremony. The smoking ceremony itself actually involves, protecting the workers on site, which is awesome. And I had a really good chat with some of the traditional owners while we were present on site. It's a long and enduring relationship that we already have with traditional owners. And, we listen to their concerns and we share with them the opportunities that exist. And I just thought it was a fantastic embodiment of that relationship.
And Alex, aside from the approvals that you still require from the traditional owners, are there any other approvals that you need to go to final investment decision?
It really is just that final sign-off under the beneficial use of test gas provisions of the NT Petroleum Act that we require, and we're very well advanced in those processes.
Okay. And your EMP allows you to have up to 12 gas wells in the pilot project. What's the time frame for development of these wells, and when do you expect to see first commercial sales?
Yeah, so the approval does allow for 12 wells. That does include the existing Carpentaria 2H and 3H wells and this well we're drilling now. So there could be up to another 9 wells following the execution of this drilling program. And that's to give us a bit of runway over the next couple of years. Our entire focus as a company right now is on successfully delivering the drilling and casing of the Carpentaria 5H well, then the stimulation of that well, a short 30-day flow test. After the wet season, our full focus will be on installing the Carpentaria gas plant and hooking it into sales. That would see us producing gas by the end of next year. The capacity of the pipeline that runs through our tenement in terms of two-way flow is about 25 terajoules a day. So it's likely that there will be capacity for additional gas production to come following the hook-in of these existing 3 wells. In terms of timing, we haven't made any final decisions on that yet. And what I will say is that learning from the technical outcomes of this well that we're about to drill and stimulate will play a big role in that. So are there opportunities for further optimization around well design or stimulation design or whatever? I think that comes under an overarching context where we are very excited about moving into the production phase and the sale of gas, but also the core purpose of this pilot program is to demonstrate the commercial viability of the resource. So we know that there's a huge amount of gas under our feet, around 5 trillion cubic feet of gas, which is a large volume, tens of billions of dollars worth of revenue just in this one tenement. But we as a company, like all oil and gas companies going through development, need to walk before we run. So the focus is on getting this good well down, getting the gas plant installed, and assessing the production profile of that well, not just over short test periods, but over a longer period of time. And that will give us a stronger sense of the economics of the project, and then the ability to plan for more drilling, which could potentially be as soon as next year.
And Alex, you've got about $34 million in the bank currently. How are you placed for funding to bring on the pilot project? And what sort of scale does this give Empire?
Yeah, so it's public knowledge that we've been running a debt advisory process over recent months. It's a bit early to tell you the outcome of that process, but what I can say is that it is proceeding very well, and we hope to be in a position to share some news with our investors, in the near term. But essentially, we have access to R&D tax credit funding. We have an existing facility with Macquarie, where we have now drawn and repaid under that facility 3 times, and also through multiple reviews, AusIndustry, the arm of the Australian government that administers that program, has found that this is, very much in the wheelhouse of the spirit and intent of the R&D tax rebate laws. But with this big program coming, there's the potential for additional debt funding against those R&D tax rebates. And also, we're looking at funding mechanisms for the reconstruction and installation of the gas plant, which we believe could be done in a less dilutive manner than issuing additional shares to the market to fund those activities. So, hopefully we'll be able to provide some more clarity on that very soon.
Well, thank you, Alex, for your time today. I'm looking forward to catching up with you over the course of the next couple of months to check on Empire Energy Group's progress.
Thank you, Finola.